Maybe going through something right now. May be able to benefit out of this book as well. None other than Rhonda Green, who published the book, Whose Marriage Is It Anyway? Good evening, Rhonda. Good evening. How are you doing this evening?
I'm wonderful, and how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. You know, when I was thinking about, and I heard about you had just published a book, I was just wondering, whose marriage is it anyway? What would make someone want to publish a book like that? Can you just start off by telling us what would make you want to publish a book?
Well, you know, I've always wanted to publish a book. I've had many different ideas of things that I would like to talk about. And I had always tried writing a book and writing a book and writing a book. I'd get through about 4 or 5 chapters and I'd give up. I'd get tired or bored with it. But because of my involvement with Toastmasters, a young lady made a suggestion to me. She says, why don't you make an audio book? That way you can talk about the things you know. You can edit it as you need to when you get ready to make the final draft. So I said, well, what is it do I know about that I really know about? Well, one thing that I know about is marriage. I know a lot about marriage. So that's why I chose this title, Whose Marriage Is It Anyway? It gives me a chance and an opportunity to show marriage from 2 people's point of views, from the husband and from the wife.
Now, Rhonda, you made a very key statement there. I happen to be a married man. Who did you consult as far as the man part of this book about his view?
As an engineer, I have a lot of male friends who are married and who are unmarried. They are in engineering, in architecture, in design, in just all sorts of life. I have found myself able to command friendship from so many different people. And as they would talk to me for advice, well, this is going on in my marriage, this is going on, I would just keep all those memories about the things that happened to them, and I took that information and put it into my book.
Do you think they told you the truth about everything they told you? Do you think they would actually reveal to you what was going on in their homes, in their marriage? Or do you think they would kind of fabricate some stories to you just to kind of maybe tell you some things?
Oh, Anthony, you know, when anybody tells you a situation of what's going on in their relationships, there's always 3 truths. His truth, her truth, and then the real truth. However, in this book, I start out with a statement of what the actual situation is. And then I'll give you a view from both aspects.
That might work. Do you think that marriage for women is still the gold standard of what adult life is? I tell you what, I know what men think about that.
Gold standard? I believe that marriage is the gold standard for people who want to be married. I don't believe it is a gold standard. I believe it is a wish and desire for someone, whether they are male or female, who chooses to have a permanent companion.
Well, that leads me into another question for you, Miss Green. Years ago, when women were coming up, that was the gold, quote-unquote, standard for every woman to be married in their life. But now we see a lot of people just living together, you know, for years, 10, 15, 20 years. Would you accept that from a man, just shacking up and just, you know, living our lives together, doing our thing, and not putting a ring on your finger? Would you accept that?
I assume that you are asking me about my personal opinion of people living together and shacking up.
You wrote the book.
My personal opinion, I'm going to answer you. My personal opinion is, I believe that if a couple are going to get together and share their assets, share their lives, then they should share a commitment to themselves and should be married for multiple reasons. If you're shacking up and it's over, you walk out the door. You don't know who gets half the house, who gets this, who gets the other.
We can write a prenuptial agreement about that.
Well, a prenuptial agreement means premarital agreement. That's what nuptial means. So a prenuptial agreement does not exist if there are never any nuptials. Think about it.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
You see, Anthony, while you're thinking, you see, I have been married twice. I've been through World War I and World War II. I personally know a lot of the things that my husbands did wrong. And of course, I know about the things that I too did wrong. You see, it takes two people to make a marriage, and it takes two people to make a marriage fail. So a lot of the information you got is not just from other people. I have put a lot of my own personal experiences, my own personal mistakes in here to try to make sure that other people don't do the same thing.
Years ago, and I would say in today's society, in today's time, women also want to find, quote unquote, a man with money. A man that could provide for them. A man that could also protect for them. Do you feel the same way?
Every woman wants someone to be their partner, to be their guide, and to be their security. Just like every man wants a woman there that can nurture the family, that can be their support, that can be there for them also. It's not just what the man wants, it's what the man and what the woman wants.
Okay.
You're pushing it, but go ahead.
Why do you think I should purchase this book?
This CD novel is awesome. We spend the majority of our time in our cars going from place to place. So instead of turning on the radio and listening to bebop or some other thing, why don't you listen to something that could just possibly help you in the relationship which is most important to you and to your life. All the decisions for a person is married concerns his spouse, his wife, or her husband. It's necessary for you to understand how to communicate with that person and to understand that maybe they don't see you going to that football game the same way as you see it. You may see it as an opportunity to just go out and visit with your friends, where your wife might see it, oh, he's avoiding me again. You see, this book tells you how to explain to your wife what activity you have, and at the same time, let her know that this is not an avoidance of being with her, that you have special time set aside to be with her too.
Well, I can agree with some of that, but one thing that I feel marriages should compromise. You should compromise with me on going to that football game with me sometime.
That's in here also.
It
says that if she has a desire to be with you 24/7, that means she has to give up her free time doing other things and to spend that time with you.
And I would also compromise, and I could, sit around and watch some of the soap operas with you that you're accustomed to and do some things that you might like to do. I think we could work this out together.
That's what I'm trying to say. This book teaches married couples how to compromise. But most importantly, it teaches young people who are thinking about becoming married the things that they have to look forward to and be ready in the future. It is obvious by your questions that you haven't read or listened to this book yet. However, I'm going to make sure that I give you a copy along with the copies that each and every member of your audience has received.
Well, let me ask you this. If I were very close to possibly getting a divorce, you think I should just go ahead and go through it, or what avenues you think I should take with my wife to try to resolve the issues? Is anything like that in that book of yours?
Yes, there is. It's a chapter called When Enough is Enough. And it says, the first things it says is, first, is it enough? Are you willing to try? Do you want to see, is there a way of saving that relationship? If any one person in a relationship wants to try to save it, then first thing they start with is talking to their partner to say, we're about to lose this relationship. Let's talk to each other. Let's write down what's wrong. Let's look at what's minor and what's major. And if we cannot resolve those problems alone, then let's go get counseling, either at the church or with a professional, to help us try to resolve those problems. But the most importantly thing it tells you in this book is, first, in your heart, you've got to want to make it succeed.
And I agree with that. I feel like it takes two. I think it would take both of us to try to work together, to try to make it work. I've been through some ups and downs in my time with my wife. but it takes two, as you just stated. So I agree with you. Now, each and every one of you out there, you're all entitled to a copy of this CD, just as she stated. Now, are there any questions out there for Ms. Green? All right.
What's the retail cost of the book?
The retail cost of this book is $5.95.
That's a bargain price.
I decided that it was no sense in charging you the $24.95 it would have cost if it had been a hard copy book. It is copyrighted, so no, you cannot get it and copy it and send it to your friends. That won't work. However, it is a wonderful book. It makes a great wedding gift. It is good for couples, you know, especially for young couples who have no idea what a marriage is truly about.
Well, that wraps this session up. I want to thank Ms. Green for coming aboard. Thank you, Ms. Green.